What's going on, folks? This is Mr. Colion Noir, and this is the Taurus Judge, chambered in 45 long coat and a 410 shotgun shell. This is a really cool gun, conceptually. I think Taurus has really done a good job as far as incorporating the ability to shoot various rounds through a handgun. So as far as my take on the Taurus Judge, more or less it would be a purchase. It would be a novelty purchase for me. This is not something I would carry or try to carry. Not that it's uncarryable, but for me, it's a little much. And I'm not the hugest fan of revolvers, though they do have their place. And I think the Taurus Judge does a good job executing its intentions. So in that regard, I have to say that the Taurus Judge is a very formidable handgun. Now, when you first see the Judge, Taurus has gone out of the way to make everything about this gun very robust, very prominent, very intimidating. And on the site they say that the reason it's called the Judge is because this is the handgun a lot of judges carry when they're on the bench. Not that I've ever seen, but nonetheless, that's what they say they claim on their site. Now, when I look at the Judge, of course, the first thing that stands out to me is that it is a revolver. Now, the thing about it, though, is I notice is that it has an elongated chamber. It tells me that this is a bit more special revolver. It does have a relatively antiquated look to it. It looks very solid, very sturdy, but it looks old. It looks like a gun that may have been used some time ago. The finish on the Judge is a blue finish, and it's really nice. It's a very deep, dark, heavy black. You can see, and then you got. And another thing about this gun that stands out are the grips. Aside from how old it tends to look, the grips on this handgun tend to really stand out. They kind of really speak to you. They have a really very comfort look to it. Like, you know that as soon as you grab a hold of this gun, that this grip is going to be very, very comfortable. And this is the rib grip from Taurus. And you notice it because it's so robust, it's so big. And it also, anybody who knows guns can tell you one thing. When you see a handgun, a revolver for that much, with a very robust grip, you know that the recoil on the handgun is going to be very stout, and that the reason for the grip is to absorb as much of that recoil as possible. But for the most part, I do like the aesthetic look of the grip. And overall, as far as the gun's concerned, it's decent. Like I said, it looks a little old. It does have a cool factor to it, and but I think that's more along the lines of the conceptual component, more so than just the look of the actual gun. So from that standpoint, in the looks department, you know, it's there. Now, the ergonomics on this gun are excellent, actually, and the reason they're so excellent is in due part almost 95% because of the grip. This particular grip is probably one of the most comfortable rubber grips I've felt in some time now, and I'm pretty sure there's some that are a lot better, but they are really good. They feel really, 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 really nice. And I have to say that they're meant to absorb recoil, and that's exactly what they do. And these particular grips, and they're called the rib grips, you can see they're kind of outfitted with these little stipples that kind of flow and move with the contours of your hand, almost kind of giving you a customized feel whenever you do grab a hold on this gun. And it gives with my hands, but on the trigger, you have a really natural, the curvature on this trigger is very natural and makes for a relatively comfortable trigger pull. And I'm not really speaking to the weight or the length of the travel on the trigger pull, but just literally how the trigger feels in hand. Because you have the smooth, flat face, unlike the Glock, which has the safe action trigger. And I think I like that. I really do. I think I've been shooting Glocks for so long that I forgot what the smooth trigger feels like. And I don't know if it's due to the hefty grip or what, but it does feel very, very, very balanced in hand. So from an ergonomic standpoint, that's great. Also, notably, is on the hammer. The hammer of this gun, this texture right here, is unbelievably aggressive and grippy, but that's good because it makes for the perfect platform to not only cock the gun, but then also to decock it without being nervous about it slipping out of your hand. This texturing is amazing. I love it a lot, and it makes for a very positive feel whenever you're decocking it or cocking it, and I think that speaks pretty heavily towards the ergonomic standpoint of this gun. And then of course you have the chamber release, which is outfitted also with a similar type of texture that's on the actual hammer of the gun as well. And I think that is, I mean, it does the job. It keeps it from your fingers slipping and gives you a sturdy platform. So from that standpoint, from an ergonomical feel, this gun is really good, I have to say. I'm really impressed with the ergonomics on this gun and how it feels in hand. Okay, now we all know that most revolvers have a very heavy trigger pull, and the Judge is no different. The trigger pull on this gun is relatively heavy. Actually, let's be real, it's really heavy. But it's very smooth. And a heavy trigger that's very smooth makes for a really good trigger, to be honest. And it's very positive. It has a very positive feel, especially in its return. There's this is the creep right here. That's where it creeps to. But one thing noticeably about this gun that I like a lot is the trigger allows you to easily stage the trigger. Right there. And I like that, because it makes the gun a lot easier to shoot, and you don't have to worry about the gun going off inadvertently without you actually putting the requisite pressure on it to fire it. Now, in single action mode is where this gun shines. In single action mode, it's literally just beautiful. There's no creep, there's no uptake, there's just boom. I love that about this gun. And in the single fire mode, it's hard pressed to be beat, especially with the contour of the trigger and the way it feels in hand. I absolutely love it. Now on the Taurus Judge, it's your basic standard revolver. There's nothing really extra on this particular hand. You get a fixed back sight, you get a fiber optic front sight, hammer, trigger, chamber release, and your ejector. So there aren't too many extras in terms of features on this particular handgun. Now, like I stated earlier in the video, this gun has a very robust, solid feel to it, and you get the same feeling once you pick it up. It also has a very solid feel in hand. Granted, it's a blued stainless steel handgun, so it's going to be relatively solid. I mean, I don't really see how you can mess that up for the most part. I can understand questions in terms of rigidity with regard to any polymer frame weapon, but when we're talking stainless steel, yeah, not so much. So in that regard, the quality on this handgun it's not exceptional or immaculate, but it's enough, especially for a gun in this price category. So from that standpoint, quality wise, it's a good gun. It's a good gun. You get what you pay for, of course, but I do think it's a good balance between value and money. So in all, I mean, revolvers are really simplistic weapons in nature. So there isn't going to be very much in the way of bells and whistles to play with that you would get with a semi-automatic, which would become outfitted with all types of sorts of gadgets, or 1911. But for the most part, I do think this is a really cool concept and a cool gun in and of itself. And I do think it has its place, and I do think it is a gun I'll eventually buy, but if I did, it'd be more from a novelty perspective, more so than something I would just utilize on a day-to-day basis. Taurus Judge, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, and hit the like button. All right, folks, Mr. Colion Noir, and I am out.